Hari Om, Vanakkam, Swagatam to each and every one of you. We thank you to have taken out your time and effort and be here today for the final day talks of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga. There is a special announcement. If you have found our talks interesting and like these events to be brought forward to you, we humbly request you to please donate. As you know, Guru Dakshina is a way for us to express our gratitude for this immense knowledge and to help propagate the work done towards making it more available to all. You can see the QR code on screen, and other details for donations is also available on our video, on our YouTube video from yesterday and on our Chinmaya Malaysia handle. So this is the, you can see it on the chat as well, Maybank. These are the details. So we humbly request you to please go ahead and give your Guru Dakshinas. We are very honored to have with us Swamini Supriyananda ji, who is, I mean, there are no words to describe the way she has explained this Bhakti Yoga verses to us. We are truly overwhelmed, filled with love and devotion. Thank you, Swamini ji, and welcome. Over to you.
Om. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bonaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejas Vinavaditamastu Mavitvishavai Om Shanti 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 Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum The Srimad Bhagavad Gita is both a Dharma Shastra and a Moksha Shastra. So when we say Dharma Shastra, Dharma Shastra, it's telling us the way in which to live our life so that it is in adherence to the wise people's guidance, and also so that it's in adherence to living harmoniously with other people and the world at large, the nature, the society, our families, and even within ourselves. And so for Dharma, it's not that a list of rules are given. Not like, do this, don't do this. Of course, there's bits in the Bhagavad Gita where Sri Krishna does suggest actions that can be done. But here we find that he gives qualities by which to live our lives. And so in terms of living Dharma, what to do, these qualities. And these 7 verses are so incredibly beautiful because each quality is so rich, and each quality can be a sadhana, a practice for us for our entire lives. And very often when Guru Dev would explain such things, whether it be in the Gita, in the different chapters where qualities like this come, or in things like Sadhana Panchakam, Guru Dev would say, choose one. Like, don't feel pressure to do all, choose one and really sincerely keep at it. And the beautiful thing is when you do one, the others come because they all linked. And so beautifully linked. And so we focused single-pointedly on one, which is the perfect way to do sadhana. And the rest happens by grace and just by the process of spirituality culminating in oneness. And Moksha Shastra is usually the Upanishadic verses where we're contemplating on Mahavakyas and seeing the oneness between Jivatma and Paramatma. But these qualities are describing that Jivan Mukti, that Parama Bhakta, who has already attained what the Mahavakyas are saying. And so what is this enlightened being? How do we describe this person? What do they, how do they live their lives? What do we see? What do we experience when we're with them? And so it's the goal for us who are still trying to reach, and it's the culmination of all the efforts that somebody has put in on the spiritual journey to reach. And so even though it's Dharma Shastra, it's also Moksha Shastra, because this is the goal. This is who we want to be. This is actually who we are in essence, but covered now by vasanas and delusions and forgetfulness. And so to return to our essence, all these qualities that are being described here is who we are. And for us to return to being who we are is moksha. And so not to be taken lightly. These qualities are so beautiful, so beneficial, and also something that we can consciously, deliberately work towards. Very often people will say, but it's not practical, or give me something practical. And these are very practical. And then of course we want to be spoon-fed, but if we even just think of one of this, be friendly to everyone. We ourselves can think of so many ways in which to implement this. In fact, there's entire organizations and websites devoted to random acts of kindness. That's exactly this, Maitra Karuna Evacha. Just having kindness to anyone and everyone. And so us saying it's not practical is because we don't want to put in the effort to even understand how we can ourselves practice it, right? Like when somebody says, eat healthy, that's not specific. But when we want good health, we'll find out what's healthy and then eat healthy. So here too in spirituality, the guidance is being given, and then it's up to each one of us and our sincerity and our determination and our commitment on how much we understand it and find ways in which to implement it. And so Advaishta Sarva Bhutanam, to have no enmity to anyone. And I saw in the story yesterday, when the Guru asked the students, did you feel offended by the wolves? His answer was, that's what wolves do. And if we can be so accepting of wolves, why not each other? It's, if somebody in our family has a particular quirk, that's just who they are. But then we get so busy in trying to change them or to avoid them and then that creates stress. But this understanding that each one is who they are. And so to have that sense of acceptance, karuna, compassion, nirmamo nirahankara, I mentioned that this is that sense of doership and enjoyership, which we give up when we give up our fruits of actions. Samadukha sukha kshami. We didn't talk about this quality of forgiveness, and it's not, each quality has a certain flavor, and I'll be speaking about that, but forgiveness is slightly different and very, very significant. And so there's a lovely incident where, again, a guru asked a student, how many people have offended you and hurt you? Write their names on a potato and then put that potato in a bag. And so he did, and he had about 6-7 potatoes in his bag. And then the guru said, well, carry this around with you for the next week and we'll discuss it next week. And it was 6 potatoes, not such a big deal. Initially, it was like, yeah, just carry this around. But by the 3rd day, it gets very annoying to have to keep carrying it around. Plus, by the 3rd day, it starts smelling and then it becomes very unpleasant. After a week, it's such a burden to have to keep carrying it around and it stinks. So he was so glad the week was over, and he goes and back to the guru, and the guru said, well, the potatoes are the negative feelings of what you are experiencing from the hurt that people have given you. And what have you decided? And so he thought, yeah, I kind of understood that that's what you were teaching me, and so I've decided to forgive all these 6 people. The guru said, great. Okay, lesson learned. And then he said, what about over this last week? Did anyone offend you and hurt you? And he thought, oh no, there were a few. And there was like this horror on his face. Like, you mean I'm going to have to put more potatoes in this bag? And then he said, this can't be what you're teaching me. This can't be my whole life, taking out some rotten potatoes and putting in other ones and just keep carrying around burdens and this stink and this filth. And so the guru smiled and said, no, quite right. That's not the solution. Tell me, if the negative feelings are, if the potatoes are the negative feelings that we are experiencing, what's the bag? These are these beautiful moments where we really need to sit and think, what is the bag? What's the bag that allows me to hold all this negative feelings? And it's my own ego, my sense of importance, my sense of I am better, or my sense of entitlement, or I deserve, or my sense of I'm right. And so the idea is not to keep removing the potatoes, it's to remove the bag. That's real forgiveness. I don't even get offended. But the reason the story is so beautiful is because it's true for so much else that's going to be said. Advaishta sarva bhutanam. If there's no dislike or negativity in my heart for anyone, I don't have the bag to carry any negativity. And so then naturally, maitra, karuna evasa. And if I'm not getting upset and responding to each person and each comment and each situation, I will be equipoised. And these sentiments get echoed in the next few verses. It's almost like we're seeing the same thing, but from different angles. And so verse number 15 says,
Yasmano dvijate lokaha.
Yasmano dvijate lokaha.
Lokano dvijate chayaha.
Lokano dvijate chayaha.
Harsha marsha bhayodvegaihi.
Harsha marsha bhayodvegehi.
Mukto yassa me priyaha.
Mukto ya sacha me priyaha. Sacha me priyaha is dear to me. Who is dear to me? This person who yasmadno dvijate lokaha, who doesn't agitate the world. Lokano dvijate chahyaha, and is not agitated by the world. So causes no disturbance and does not get disturbed. And harsha marsha bayodvaigehi. We don't see this word too often in the Gita, but so harsha is joy and marsha is jealousy. Doesn't come up too often in the Gita. So here, to be free from jealousy. Bhaya, fear. We do hear about fear often enough in the Gita. It's one of those big emotions, right? We constantly stressed, or we anxious, or we apprehensive, or we dreading something. All of that is fear. So this person has none of that. No fear, no jealousy, and no hyper excitements. They free from that excitableness. And so when we say, Yasmadno dvijate lokaha lokano dvijate, they don't disturb the world, nor do they cause hyper excitement in the world, nor does the world excite them. Jealousy, they don't cause jealousy in the world, and the world doesn't cause jealousy in them. They don't cause fear in the world, and the world doesn't cause fear in them. And Gurudev, when he explains this verse, gives the story of somebody who's fast asleep, dreams that they lost a lot of money, their only child is critically ill, and then somebody comes in and solves the problem, and now not only do they have money, they have so much property. All this in the dream, and then when he wakes up, is he highly upset and grieving the property he lost, or is he rejoicing what he got? Because he understands that it was the dream. So here, this enlightened being sees the world as the play of the Lord, sees everything in this world as the Lord. And so all of it is prasad, and all of it is to be revered, and all of it is to be adored. But when we don't see the world as a reflection of the Lord, but we start to see ourselves as individual, and the world is something that, we need to secure our place in, and we need to own and possess, and we need to have power over, or we need to control, then there's so much restlessness in us. And, if I feel I need to have this, and you also want it, well, then there's the power struggle, and there's jealousy if you get it, or you get jealous of me if I get it, plus me wanting it and making sure that you don't have it causes himsa and violence, and there'll be some kind of insult, or there'll be some kind of rejection or betrayal or manipulation. And whereas if the whole world is the Lord, then the Lord is infinite, and there's enough for everyone, and I will get whatever I need. And so I don't need to take anything from you, and I don't need to be envious of you for what you have, nor do I need to get super excited when I get something, because everyone will get what they need, and there's more than enough for every single one of us. And so the mind is incredibly peaceful and filled with love for the Lord, which will then overflow in the personality as kindness and consideration and cooperation and tolerance and acceptance for all the people around. So they not agitated themselves and then therefore naturally don't agitate other people. So much of the world is a reflection of who we are. You know, when we think, everyone's out to get me, usually there's this insecurity, and that's why we're seeing the world that way. Or if we see the world as it's so unfair, that why would we see the world that way? Some conditioning or some assumption or based on some experience, and then we generalized and we've judged and we've come up with notions. But if the whole world is the Lord, how can it be unfair? The Lord is justice itself and compassion itself and giving itself. And so if I look again, sure, it might not be apparent. It might seem like some are getting more and others are getting less. But of what? Money? Attention? There's other things that are important too, like knowledge and love. And this knowledge is denied to no one. Whoever wants it, it's abundantly available. What's not fair? And love and grace is abundantly available. We have to be receptive to it, and we have to be able to recognize it in our lives. And so this person, this enlightened being is remember, equipoised. Their mind is still samadukha, and they're not seesawing from joy to sadness, or from fear to anger, or from confusion to excitement. And there's like, it's like a maturing. And it's not that this person becomes boring, because that's of course one of the things that people say. The minute we say, the person's calm and peaceful, they think, oh, how incredibly boring. But humor is such a powerful force. Oh, I forget his name. He's that radio announcer who's hilariously funny from South Africa. And he tells his life story. A Black person from South Africa, he saw humor being able to dissolve a very intense situation of racism. And it immediately caught his attention as a kid, because he thought, wow, humor can break barriers. And also studies show like humor is a sign of incredible intelligence. And so, and you can learn it. Most of us don't know this, but we can learn it. And so I started researching about it. And so often when we hear stand-up comedians or when we see humor in entertainment, it's insulting. We're making fun of whichever people, right? A certain community of people, or a certain stereotype of people, and then I thought, well, this can't be intelligent. It can't be, because it goes against what the Gita is saying. Yasmano dvijate loke. They don't cause agitations in people's hearts. And so this person who is so beautifully equipoised usually has incredible humor, which doesn't involve insult. And so they filled with joy. and maybe playfulness and mischievousness. And because the world is nothing but the Lord, they filled with a sense of wonder. And you know, when you meet somebody who has that sense of wonder, like even if somebody is really passionate about painting and you go to a gallery with them and they're talking about the painting, you also start looking, thinking, oh, like maybe I knew nothing about painting and I would have looked at it and looked away in 2 seconds. But because this person is talking so passionately about it, we get interested, we get engaged. And so this master, this person of beautiful equipoise who does not cause disturbance, still brings an incredible amount of joy. And in their presence, we hear this, in their presence, our minds too become so peaceful. So many times people would go to Gurudev, a letter would say, I've got so many questions, can I come meet you? They come to meet him and then questions are gone. Because in his presence, that peace and that stillness and that poise makes us also connect with the divinity in our hearts. Anapeksha, in verse number 16.
Anapeksha shuchirdakshaha
Anapeksha sachir dakshaha
udasino gatavyathaha
udasino gatavyataha
sarvarambha parityagi
sarvarambha parityagi
yo madbhaktas same priyaha.
Yomad bhakta same priyaha. That bhakta which is anapeksha, to have no expectations. There's a joke I had heard about Nisruddin Maharaj. A friend of his came over and asked to borrow some money. And usually Nisruddin Maharaj, giving money, these people don't return it. And then, but there was a real dear friend and he seemed to be really needing his money. And it wasn't a big amount. So then Nisruddin Maharaj thought, okay, great, fine, never mind. I will loan you the money since it's not a big amount. And he really didn't think his friend would give it back. But a week later, his friend came and paid him back. And he was very, very pleasantly surprised. A month later, the same friend comes and asks him for money again, a slightly bigger amount. And he said, no. His friend said, why? And he said, last time I expected you to not pay me back and you did. And I don't want you disappointing my expectations again, because this time I expect you to pay me back. Expectations, they definitely cause a lot of agitations in our mind. And it's not true that we can live in the world without expectations, because we all do, right? We expect the roads to work, the traffic to flow in a certain direction or to take a certain amount of time. And when it doesn't, it does cause agitation. We have an expectation of the doctor to know what he's doing, the hairdresser to know what they're doing. We have an expectation that the toothpaste actually cleans my teeth. We have expectations, but there's realistic expectations, manageable expectations, and unrealistic expectations. And sometimes we just so deluded in what we expect, right? We expect that I've lost my temper 12 times yesterday. Today I heard satsang and I say I'm not going to lose my temper all day tomorrow. If you can't go from 12 to 1, or if you can, you need a plan. Do you have a plan? No plan. Just I should never get angry again. Unrealistic expectations we have even of ourselves, and then of course of other people. That they should never have a bad day. They should be completely in tune with me. They should love me unconditionally. They should always praise me, and they should smile the right amount of smile when I need them to smile. Ridiculous expectations we have, even though we don't see it as ridiculous, silly, because this person has no expectations. Because the Lord gives And whatever the Lord gives is prasad, sachir, pure. We can speak the whole hour just about sachir. Purity of physical body is important. COVID has taught us that. Purity of mind and intellect, even more important. Daksha is this alertness of our mind. And I'm totally present and I can completely assess what needs to be done. And in fact, even though when we talk about spiritual qualities, we tend to often say kindness, compassion, equipoise, daksha would be probably higher on the list. Because unless I'm alert that a thought has come in, unless I'm alert, sometimes I'm in a good mood and I'm thinking of the Lord and I'm, bouncing along my way. And then I meet someone and they're in a bad mood. And I want to be there for them. I'm a good friend. And I think, oh, what happened? And then I'm not alert to realize I am taking on the bad mood. I am starting to feel heavy. I am starting to feel, the world's a horrible place. We need to have that alertness to no. What I wanted to do was make them feel better, not allow them to make me feel worse. And so that alertness of mind, to see the change in my thinking and to have that presence to choose my thought and not get influenced by that person's thought. The other way is also true. Maybe I'm having a whingy, complainy day, being a real sukhi, and somebody else comes along and they're really cheerful, and I think, what you so happy about? And then have that alertness of thought that, wait a minute, that's a better option. Let me give up my whinginess and my complaininess, and let me also join her or him in their cheerfulness. Daksha is that presence, to be aware. And, of course, it's to be aware of outside, but aware of inside is crucial. Udasino, to be, well, it gets translated in different ways. It gets translated as indifferent. It also gets translated as unaffected. But I think one of the best translations is unbiased. Udasino. I don't have a preference in which way things go. I don't have a preference in who is standing in front of me or next to me. I don't have a preference in terms of the activity that I'm doing. And so I'm above my own likes and dislikes and the havoc that my own likes and dislikes can create in my world and in the world outside. So Udasina very often also gets translated as sitting above, as though watching. Not other people. Not that I'm above other people. No. We are always low at the Lord's feet as devotees. Never above, always at the Lord's feet. But Udasina means above what? Above the noise in my own head. And so this beautiful quality. Gata avyataha. Not disturbed. Again, this equipoise. Again, this acceptance of the Lord's wish. Why do we get troubled? Why do we get agitated? Why do we lose our equipoise? It's so simply encapsulated by one word. My will. I want what I want. So much of our spiritual journey comes down to this, and that's why karma phala tyaga was given such a high place. Karma phala tyaga is, it's the Lord's will. I accept the Lord's will. Otherwise, I want it my way. And I'm so convinced that my way is better, my way is right, or I'm entitled to my way. It's my turn to have it my way. We come up with so many reasons why it should be my way. And sometimes we don't have a reason, but it's my way. I want. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. I want it. And people actually say it. I don't care. Like, they'll say, I want XYZ. And somebody will say to them, but that's going to hurt your whole family. I don't care. Or I want, and sometimes it can be something like, I want my loved one to live longer. And the doctors will say, but it's going to be such a painful journey for them. They're going to suffer the whole time. Let them go. And literally, they'll say, I don't care. They can't go. I want them with me. Yeah. My will. It's not even, it's desire for sure, but it's this need to have it the way I want it. It's not a need, but I perceive it as a need, and I work towards making it the way I want it. And sometimes we do. Sometimes what we want is beautiful. It may be altruistic, it may be creative, it may be ingenious. And should I really give it up? It's not giving it up as much as it is offering it to the Lord. So this is what I want, and here you go. Now it's up to you. When we say surrender our will, and if we're thinking, I'm never going to get what I want, we won't surrender our will. We almost have to trick our ego. And so you can still want it, but now you've given it to the Lord. What have I given to the Lord? My will, my desire. So will I get what I want? Maybe. It's not a no. It's a maybe. And that kind of makes it okay. Whereas if I think I'm not going to get what I want, it makes me more determined. My way. And so the way we phrase things and the way we understand things is crucial on whether we implement them or not. And so this person is able to sarvarambha parityagi, give up, not have to control, give up all their undertakings, and therefore is dear to the Lord. Yona.
Yo na hrishyati na dveshti.
Yona rishyati na dveshti.
Na shochati na kankshati.
Na sochati na kankshati.
Shubha shubha parityagi.
Shubha shubha parityagi.
Bhaktimanya same priyaha.
Bhaktimanya same priyaha. So this is already a little bit mentioned in that 2 verses ago when it said, no, even earlier in 15, Harsha Marsha Payodwegehi, free from fear and jealousy and excitement. Here too it says, Narashyati na dveshti. He neither rejoices nor does he hate. No sochati, he doesn't grieve. Or she, na kangshati, there's no intense pining desire. And this is all the fluctuations of the mind, right? That these are all the moods that, and so much of the agitations that we feel is because we have these desires, which then leads to each and every one of these emotions. Shubha Shubha Parityagi, giving up both good and evil. Bhaktiman, full of devotion. So giving up both good and evil. When we start our spiritual journey as young children, we get, the words good and bad get used so often. Be good, do good. Stealing is bad. Lying is bad. And then some of us create very strong reactions to these words because they feel like labels, and they sometimes are hard to live up to. But sometimes the rebelliousness in us, we want to do what we're told not to do. And so as we grow in our spiritual journey, there has to be this understanding that there can't be force with the way we handle our mind. Yeah. Now, when a child is strong and the adult uses power and authority to control the child becomes internally furious. Maybe externally they can't do something, but internally there's this surge of wanting to retaliate, wanting to punish, wanting to remove. And so the surge within us is himsa. And so all these qualities and all of Hinduism is based on three pillars: Satya, Brahmacharya, and Ahimsa. And so many of the qualities we saw is based on this principle of Ahimsa. Karuna is based on Ahimsa. Not disturbing the world is based on Ahimsa. Udasina, or also it's so many, and so many of these qualities are about self-control, about brahmacharya, intelligent self-control. Even, we were talking about daksha, we were talking earlier about nirmamo, nirahankara, having that self-control, dridhanishchaya, having that self-control, which is essentially brahmacharya, being matured and having different facets to it. Ahimsa too has so many different facets to it. And so the minute we feel hate, or the minute we feel dislike, the minute we feel anger, it's himsa. The repercussions of that will be himsa. Even if I don't do anything physically, the thoughts I will have in that state of mind is himsa. And then a lot of us will act on those thoughts at some point or the other, even if it's just speech. And so maybe if it's a person of authority and I have all these emotions, and as a kid, they can't say anything to the adult, they will go and gossip about that person to everybody else. And so it comes out in a very negative way. And so our understanding that the label itself can create a reaction in our mind. And so to remove these labels, even what's good, we give up. Even what's bad, we give up. And in fact, what we're giving up is the labels, so that we can actually see the action for what it is. We can see the person for what it is. We can see the experience for what it is. And so it's that maturity of understanding that my own mind will react, plus the world around me reacts to these kind of labels. And it's not only good and bad, it's right and wrong. We react so strongly to these words, right and wrong. But in maturity, that udasina, to sit above it, to sit above even right and wrong. Why? Because it's duality. And all of spirituality is to transcend differences and to merge into oneness. And so these qualities may sound very simple initially, but they take us so deep within our own hearts to find that center within us which can appreciate and truly live. To live these qualities, we need wisdom, and we need presence of mind. We need devotion. Samashatra.
समशत्रौ च मित्रे च
Samashatrau cha mitre cha
तथा मानापमानयोः
tatamanapamanyoho
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु
shitoshna sukha dukkeshu
तमः सङ्गविवर्जितः
samasanga vivarjitaha
तुल्य तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी
tulyanindastutirmauni
सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित्
santushto yena kenachita
अनिकेतस्थिरमतिः
aniketa stiramatihi
भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः
bhaktiman me priyo naraha. Samashatro cha mitra cha. This is that equipoiseness. We see friend and enemy as the same. It's because we've come to this point in our heart where we can recognize that it's so much of friendship and inimicalness with other people is me reacting to, I want it my way. Why else would this person be an enemy? It's because they're not letting me have it my way, or I don't like their way. Of course, it can get a little bit more complicated, but we start at the levels where it's easy to be able to understand and overcome. This person is not running after name and fame. Tatamana apamana yoho. And in fact, whether they are praised or insulted, honored or dishonored, it's the same. Because all of this being praised, being insulted, being liked, being disliked it's all this play. It's gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas, playing with gunas. Earlier in the Gita, Krishna says, guna guneshu vartante. The rajas in me is reacting to the rajas in you. How lovely if we could just see that. Like, here I am very angry and I yell at you and then you get scared. What's going on? Rajas in me manifesting as anger. Rajas in you manifesting as fear. It takes away all the drama. It takes away all the commentary. Or I don't pay attention and I say something careless and then you get really hurt. What's happening? Tamas in me, because I'm not being considerate and sensitive, is reacting to rajas in you. It's this person really understands. So if there's praise, something in that moment that is conducive to your vasanas, that you are praising me. If you insult something that is unconducive to your vasanas that you see in me, and so you insult, why should I get upset? It's you reacting to your vasanas. Why should I also react to your vasanas? Already you're reacting enough. Then, of course, I react to my own vasanas, but this person has no vasanas and so need not react at all and won't. I mean, there's nothing to react to because there's no vasanas. And so they equipoised in what Shitoshna and Dukkha, even in physical things, Sukha Dukkha in emotional things, and Mananapanan is intellectual things. In people, Shatrocha Mitracha, Tulya Nindastati in circumstances. And so Santushto Yena Kenachit. They just always peaceful. Aniketaha. They live in the Lord alone. Gets translated as homeless, but that's terrible translation. They live in the Lord alone. Stiramatihi. And they're so steady. They so, when you're really comfortable and you don't feel like moving. Stira. Whereas when you upset, you go here and you come back, Even if I'm sitting here, I'm looking, I'm picking up phone, I'm talking, and stira. They comfortable, steady. In fact, when we even think about it, a stillness comes over us. So beautiful. The quality is. Stira is sturdy, reliable. So their minds are reliable. And Bhaktiman, filled with devotion. In this chapter, it hasn't been said, but in Vibhishan Gita, when all these qualities are given by Sri Ram to Vibhishan, Vibhishan must have looked overwhelmed, thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do so many things. Then Ramchandraji says, don't worry, you don't have to do so many things. You just have to do one thing. Love your Guru. In Bhaja Govindam, a similar thing. 31 verses are given. And then Shankaracharya says, actually, you know what? Guru Charanam. Just stay at your Guru's feet. Can be the Guru, it can be the Lord. It can be any higher altar. People working for some cause that they believe in. Find something you love and devote yourself to it. Sometimes it's harder to create love. So find something you already love. And start there. Start developing all these qualities in what you already love. And an incredible thing about love, it grows. The other day, somebody was asking me, there was not like I'm an expert, a parent was asking me about newly married kids. Do you think they love each other? I'm sure they do. I don't know if they really love each other. And I said, well, they just married. Like this year only. Love takes time to grow. And love will grow. Like the minute you love, it will grow. Because it makes us feel so full that it pushes away everything else and it just keeps filling us up. And that's the beautiful thing about love. So we already love something or the other. Live our lives devoted to that, but using these qualities. And that way we start working on these qualities. And then these qualities will also grow. making us nicer people. And domino effect, it will all work by his grace. We just have to take that first step. And so finally he says, Ye tu.
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदम्
Ye tu dharmyamit ritamidam.
यथोक्तं पर्युपासते
Yatoktam paryupasate.
श्रद्दधाना मत्परमाः
Shraddha dana mat paramaha.
भक्तास्ते अतीव मे प्रियाः
Bhaktastetiva me priyaha. People who even just attempt to follow this path with Shraddha, faith, are extremely dear to me. But this is so beautiful what he says here. Yetu dharma. This is dharma. Mritamidam. These virtues is dharma. And that's why I started by saying Gita is dharma shastra and moksha shastra. I'm not saying. Krishna is saying. This is dharma. Yeah, these virtues is dharma. And so how do I live dharma? These virtues. Live these virtues. What about the actions? All actions. Do it with these virtues and they become dharma. I can't do all. Okay, choose one. But make sure you choose one. And make sure you do it. Take that first step. And he will most certainly come to you. And anyone who has studied the Gita will tell you so many stories. So many stories of how they did so little, but graceful their lives. And we can't but have gratitude. If we, when we start doing and we see how much he does for us, we can't but have gratitude. Even to hear this is his grace. Even for me to speak on it is his grace. And he makes sure we stay in satsang. It's all we have to do is just want him in our lives. And so every chapter ends with the Sankalpa Vakya as a way of indicating the end. Om Tat Sat. Each word is incredibly beautiful because each word is scripture in itself. Om is the entire Vedas. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is the name of this text. Upanishadsu, it is a summary of the Upanishads. Brahma Vidyayam is the nature of the topic that we are talking about. Moksha, Yoga Shastra, it helps us unite to our own divine truth. It's a conversation, samvade, between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. And this chapter, Dwadashodhyayaha, this 12th chapter, is named Bhakti Yogo Nama. I'm not going to chant it because I've already explained it. I'm going to chant the first verse again because this Bhakti Yoga chapter is so incredibly profound. It's the shortest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, and some people will say it's the simplest, but no. It has layers and layers and layers and layers of meaning, and we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. There was so much more I myself wanted to share with y'all, but this is, what's that fancy word? When you go to these really fancy restaurants, even before the appetizer, they give you something booze. What's that word? Y'all know, fancy people know. Is it? And then, so I'm thinking, we didn't order this. And they're like, Swamini, don't be so, uncultured. This is, and now what is it? It's to whet your appetite. It's to make the appetite come. So this yagna, these 4 days, was that, amuse bouche. Correct. This was just amuse bouche. We haven't even had appetite yet of chapter 12. So we chant all together. Arjuna vacha evam satata yuktaye bhaktastvam paryupasate ye chapshaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yogamit vittamaha. The question is, how to attain yoga? How can I be united with you, my Lord? How can I worship you in the world outside in a form? And how can I come to see you as my own self, as the formless? Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda's commentary is such an incredible blessing to us. Please, please do read it. So many bits are so meditative, and so many questions will be answered, and the guidance is a treasure to have. I also want to thank the Malaysia team for organizing these 4 days. I was telling them before the class started that COVID had made me so relaxed. I would talk on one verse for 1 hour, and these 4 days have made me daksha, alert, succinct, precise. Stop wishy-washing around. Thank you to the beautiful team that arranged this yajna, to all of you who attended, and to Gurudev for keeping us in satsang and at his feet. And our gratitude to Sri Krishna for leaving this legacy of the Gita for us to reflect on and be guided by. Om Tat Sat.
Swamiji, thank you so much. Always such a blessing, such a joy to have you for our yagnas. I mean, we are ever so grateful to you, to our Pujya Gurudev, that we are so blessed to hear this. It's his commentary after all. And thanks to the full team to pull this together. And thanks to each and every one of you who made time all these 4 days to be present, and today too. There are some special announcements. For those who are interested in the continued study of the Gita, we have an ongoing chanting class on Tuesday nights and a study class which has just started on chapter 2. So you are still welcome to join, and there is plenty of opportunity to catch up. It's never too late. We have also shared the link of the Prasad Pustaka on the chat, and it will be in the description of our YouTube video for the day 4 talks as well. So this is the site that you can download. This year, the Chinmaya Mission is making the Gita commentary available as a free ebook. So please make use of this opportunity, as Gurudev's commentary is truly worth a read. So this is the site that you can go and download it. Okay. Thank you again, Swamini ji.
Thank you.
Ever so grateful.
There you go. There you go.
You do Purnamadama.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.